We'd like to welcome you to the February 20th Suburban Improvement District meeting. If I can keep from screaming at you, I will. Let's have a general call to order at 1600 hours, 4 o'clock. Commissioners, are you ready?
Yes, sir, we're ready.
Tony? Could we please start the meeting with just a small moment of silence? Thank you very much, folks. Let's see if we can approve the agenda, please.
I forgot how we're supposed to do this.
Just make a motion to approve the agenda.
I thought we had
We're not
some,
going to do that.
we had a motion to add several items to the agenda.
Let's have a little bit of a discussion then to add to the items. David, did you have one?
We have several items we'd like to add to the agenda today. One is, what was that over at Omaha Center we need to discuss?
COVID.
The COVID over at Omaha Center. I need a motion to approve that.
And to add ALC bulk sales would be added. Those are the two items to add.
ALC's offer and the
COVID at Omaha.
COVID at Omaha.
I'll second
And
that.
that would go under new business
Correct,
On the agenda, yeah.
on the agenda.
on the agenda. Yes, ma'am. And you seconded, Susan?
Yes, sir.
Motion's been made by Mr. Nebel to add COVID issues at the Omaha Center and the use of those facilities, and the ALC offer received from ALC. That motion has been seconded by Ms. Jett. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. I'd like to have a motion to approve the minutes from our January 16th meeting, please.
I have read them and I make a motion we approve them.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made by Mr. Nebel to approve the January 16th SID meeting, seconded by Ms. Jett. Any discussion? Susan, you approve?
Yes.
Tony?
Approve. Yes.
David?
Yes.
Motion carries. At this point, we have an opportunity to ask the community at large if they would like to make some comments. Property owner comments would be limited to 3 minutes. Please state your name and your address. Any comments from the community or the other property owners?
Okay.
I'm not hearing anyone jump up. So we'll go on to unfinished business. We have worked the employee policy changes, and I believe they're in a state that they could be approved by the commission, so that our general manager has the authority to utilize those in hiring and reporting issues with employees to the commissioners. Do I have a motion to have the employee guidelines approved that we're going to use for 2023?
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
A second motion.
Motion's been made by Ms. Jett to approve the employee guidelines that have been worked for several months, and it's been seconded by Mr. Tony. Did I say that okay, Tony?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Any discussion?
Except at the bank, you're only Anthony at the bank.
Right.
Not hearing any discussion. Susan, you approve them?
Yes.
Tony?
Approved.
David?
Yes.
Okay, those new employee guidelines are approved, and we'll move forward to the model airplane land lease on Highway 289.
I've provided you with a copy of the last lease that was signed. The only terminology that was changed was that Sid would no longer be responsible for cutting the grass around the, I guess, landway or track, whatever that's called. They'll maintain that themselves. The only question that y'all asked of me at the previous meeting about the lease was the amount that they were paying covering the taxes that we pay there. To the best of my knowledge, that is a piece of a parcel. It's included with other property that is not even on the same side of the road. And so we're paying $219 average in taxes. I believe their lease was $150. Is that correct? So I would say that that was probably done that way because they're not utilizing the entire amount of the parcel. So in my opinion, that amount would cover the portion that they use, and I believe that was your question. The only thing on the new lease we need to do is fill in the dates and the amount. And then, and I provided a copy of their insurance, which is the other thing that was required, and they provided that to us.
So what was the fee we were charging them then?
If you look on the one I've got attached, I believe it was $150. Is that correct, Mr. Jess?
Yeah.
Yes. They were paying $150. We did our research. $219 is the average of what the taxes have been for the last several years.
Okay.
But
That's
the parcel that
219
tax,
for the whole
219 was for the whole parcel,
Not-
which was,
Not the part that they're using. Okay.
yeah, several acres. They don't have the whole parcel. And the only change was the grass cut. Everything else is the same.
Is there any mention, I know there's a lock on there, right? There's a lock on the gate?
Yes.
Yes. Is there, I mean, since we still own the property,
And
is there,
SID used to have a key.
do they have a
for
key?
that lock.
Okay, that's it.
I believe we
Come
still
out
do.
there and push lock it.
Okay.
We still have a key.
Okay.
I think the only other thing that lease says that maybe we should talk about is when y'all do have improvements made, that we just know what they are.
I
I haven't seen anybody out there on it in eons.
Well, weather conditions are not always conducive for us to be flying. When it's conducive for our flying, that's when we're out there. It might be early Saturday morning, it might be late Sunday night, but we're not out there every day.
I suspected that. I've driven by several times because that was a hobby of mine when I used to build those airplanes, and they were all radio controlled. Do you also play with U-control on that land? Because I think most of your aircraft are all radio
Radio
controlled.
control, yes.
Do you also use U-control where you're flying in a
I
circle?
started out that way, but not here.
And when I was 12, I crashed a bunch of airplanes, so I understand why radio control.
Yes, sir, Southwest Campbell that went.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that you have the active radio control group going with the airplane
Yeah,
group. We appreciate you.
We used to be a big size club at one time. We had 25 members, but when COVID came in, it took a big bite out of our membership.
Well, thank you again. I sure appreciate us having a club like that. I appreciate, Betsy, you doing the work to work with them to get that lease
all
revised.
And we've been fortunate enough to bring in 2 youngsters, and they're flying already. And they've only had less than a year of practice.
Wonderful. That's wonderful.
I make a motion, we accept this lease offer.
Motion's been made by Mr. Nebel to accept the lease supporting the model airplane club and the land that they use. Is there a second?
I'll second.
seconded by Mr. Tony Stallsmith. Any discussion? David?
None for me, I vote yes.
Tony?
Approved.
Susan?
Okay, we're good.
Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Chester. We appreciate you and all the work you're doing.
Can we confirm the dates that we want to put on that lease? Would we like to continue to end it at the end of the year so that January 1st we're renewing each year?
It would be a help to us if we could.
Yeah, so maybe
Okay.
we start the lease today and you can go on and sign, and then it'll end on 12/31/2023. And we won't wait till the last minute going forward. Sound good?
Sounds good, thank you.
Great.
Y'all will sign, I'll fill the dates in and get the copies to us.
Okay.
Okay.
We don't have that at home.
So you're going to be flying at midnight on the 31st, right?
Nothing for noon.
We do have airplanes with lights that fly at night.
That would be
pretty
so
cool.
cool. Thank you, sir. Sorry. Next item on the agenda is set dates for surplus sale. We're looking at a primary and perhaps a rain date, if I understand correctly, Betsy.
I don't think we'll need a rain day. I went back and found some documentation from the previous sale. I think we need to advertise it in the paper. I think it needs to have at least 30 days for it to be posted out there. I have pictures. I think someone brought up a statement that maybe we can put them on the website and load the pictures. I also put a book together out there on the table if anyone wants to look through it. It's got photos of each of the items and we listed them in categories. I think we do a silent auction and we just have an end date set. And then maybe before that end date, we'll go down to Base Hard and open up the interior. And if anyone wants to come through and physically touch it, look at it, smell it, whatever. And then we just have an end date. And once that end date happens, we start opening those envelopes and they go to the highest bidder and they get 48 hours to pay us.
What are you looking at?
I would say we ought to do it the end of April. Oh, I'm sorry, end of March. We're at the end of February now. If I can get it posted by March 1st, then we can do it by the end of March and be done with that.
Okay, the 31st is a Friday in March.
That would be great.
So we send out a note at the end of February to give them 30 days in the paper.
I'll post it in the paper. I've got a good list, and then we'll post it on our website with the pictures. And then I've got little envelopes that we pre-printed where they'll sign the envelope, they'll write the item number on the front, and then we made little slips they'll put inside the envelope where it'll be a sealed bid. So nobody knows what anybody else has bid until the day that we open them. And I say we make it 3 o'clock on Friday, March 31st. Then I can notify whoever has won those bids and they can come in and pay the next week.
I think that's a good idea.
Sounds good. Sounds good to me.
All right.
Okay.
We have a few pretty decent items in there. I hope everybody takes a chance to look at it.
We have a motion then to set the dates for our surplus sale of March 31st. Mr. Nebel made that motion. Do we have a second?
Sure.
The sure person down there said we're going to have a second. That's Ms. Jett. So we'll have a motion. Any discussion? I think
Sounds
we've
like
already had a
everything's in
discussion.
motion, right?
David, you're good?
Aye.
Yeah.
Tony?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. Thank you, Betsy, for your hard work on that.
Thank you.
Our next unfinished business is Lake Committee update, the Omaha ADA access dock.
Mr. Norma, Wayne gave them some sketches of the ADA
Hang on just a
compliant.
second. One of them got torn apart.
Just of the
I got it.
ADA compliant, and then you had the ones from the last
Here's one
time
that-
for that, for just that.
Mr. Flowers, is it 2 pages?
That's what Wayne gave.
Yeah, he gave us 2
Okay.
pages.
Yeah, but somebody tore them apart.
So now there should be both, ADA compliant
Well,
and
you and Tony can look. I'll show the date.
And maybe you can grab one of those. He left 4 up here. He left the 4th copy. There's 4 copies. Oh, there you go.
He's the guy who can explain everything.
Okay,
Okay.
Tony and I are gonna we'll look together.
I drew an arrow on one that shows the walk plank.
This is the original?
No.
That's the pricing and the drawings on the front page.
It's the same drawing there.
Yeah, and that's the entrance of the walk ramp to the marina. Just attach it to the side there next to it. We have to do some adaptation for it. It should be self-explanatory.
All right, so just so y'all know, Wayne came to me to ask after the last meeting what he needed to do or how to move forward. I think Norman had talked to him, and so I suggested, and what I understood from the last meeting is that the difference was, is it ADA compliant or ADA accessible? And we had much discussion about the difference between the two. So the drawing that you received today would be ADA compliant, which would go to the right side of the walkway going to the marina, or to the marina walkway. And the original one that they proposed was ADA accessible, and it would be to the left of where the boat ramp is now and take the place of that
To the
previous dock
Be to the right of the boat ramp, but to the left of the marina.
of the marina, yes. Does that make sense? Did I explain that right, Wayne? Okay.
You talking about the launch dock, or you talking about the ramp to the slots? Oh,
There's one for each.
oh, okay.
What was the question?
So one would be ADA compliant, which would be more just like an observation dock, I guess you would say, because it would have the rails all the way around it. But on the ADA accessible, it would be used for multi-purposes as far as boats still being able to tie up to it, you know, that kind of thing, is they're taking their boats in and out of the water. If we do the ADA compliant, it would be completely to the right of the gangway going to the marina now. So it would be over there and sit by itself, and it would just clearly be for observation or fishing. I guess anyone could fish off of there, but it would have the rail all the way around it, so there'd be no chance of anyone rolling off the end.
Those specifics require nothing more than a 4-inch pier.
Can you
Why
please
don't you-
speak in the,
Here, yeah, let's give him that.
Okay, so it's off the dock, the stuff that's there already?
So this new one that you got today,
Right.
you know, as you go down the parking lot and hit your gangway to go to the marina, it's going to shoot off to the right. So there's an opening in that walkway already. So it'll just have a new path that will lead off of that, and it will have the floating observation dock. But the one he showed you last time was to the left, and the boats would also, that were coming in and out of the lake or off that ramp, would be able to tie up to it. This one on the right, the ADA compliant, they would not. It would strictly be an observation for anyone ADA accessible.
It's to the right of the ramp,
Yes.
where the dock, there's a dock there now, right?
Yes, he would remove that dock.
I'm looking at it on Google Earth.
He would remove that dock
That's a good
and
idea.
offer to put it at another location for us if we so desire. And replace that whole dock with extended dock out.
What's the difference in the cost, Wayne? I think that's really the other question, is how much more are we talking about spending?
I think they're pretty close to the same.
Oh, well,
How much is, what's the cost on the way they're doing?
They've got the...
what's the page, second page?
It says 6,000.
$706.
Yeah.
6,706.
The people that are requesting the ADA compliance or dock or
Right there.
whatever,
Oh, there's total down
Yeah,
there.
right here is the number.
what are they after?
Because it has
Are they
labor.
after one over by where
Using
the
kiln dry
boats
to
Dock you're gonna replace, right?
Okay, hang on just a second,
That's
please.
one option. You're gonna replace that and build it.
Put the
longer dock.
ADA, yeah.
No, the accessible one out here like this, in an angle. And this is the marina.
Right.
We're gonna put the ADA dock on this side.
Oh, okay.
Right there, right?
Right there.
Okay.
And so you could
Yeah,
approach it,
right.
it's got a good,
There's more parking lot over there.
well, and it's got a good solid approach for
Right.
wheelchairs. And then you could make it so you could go off of this side onto.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just down there looking at it,
Yeah, what's
Okay.
the,
and this makes perfect sense.
what's the
to me.
cost figure on that one? I don't have that.
6,700, about the same amount, 6,700.
Right.
This is the dock, right? So you're looking at putting it right there. Okay, so the other one makes it,
The other one was gonna be,
Yeah.
I don't think that's it, I think, unless it's in this.
It's on the left side of,
But this,
on the
if
right
it
side of
is,
the
that
marina.
is the one, so we're not gonna do anything.
The
to it.
left side of the marina, right side of that dock.
So the existing dock, we're not gonna do
Okay.
anything to?
Well, we haven't decided anything.
Okay.
This one here was the
We
accessible.
can leave the old dock there.
We're
for
gonna
people
leave
to tie
this,
up
take
to.
this one out,
Well, then
and put a
we'd
dock,
really
went
be
out this
hitting
way
those
and angled
notes.
off this
If
way.
you did the ADA
And
for
then the
them,
ADA
and left the
dock is
dock
gonna
that's
be-
there,
Because
then
we got
we'd be able
concrete
to
or
help
less
those people.
accessible area here,
How much
and then
would that
move it out
cost? How
here
much
to
would that
this
cost
location,
to do?
right here.
Make
To the right of that.
existing
is the idea to try
accessible
to help handicapped people get on the
No, we
boat?
wouldn't want to do
No.
both.
There's
Leave
no
the existing
accessible
one there
to
for
get
the
on and off the dock.
boats to
That's
dock
right.
and
Yeah,
use,
No,
and then
an
make
ADA
this one
dock, you
specific.
can't even get out of a boat to get on the dock. There's railing all the way around it.
That's, we understand it from last time.
Yeah, the thing to do is a place for them to go and sit and fish and not fear running off the dock.
So that's what they're wanting.
Yeah, and then this one over here would be accessible, they could go out there, but there would be no side rails or anything on it.
Just like,
But it would be an advantage to, that's a really poor dock. If you get 3 or 4 boats on there and they want to come off the water at the same time, it's just really bad if we had that dock there.
One can
that
come
way,
off, dock
really
up.
enhance Omaha.
Yeah,
What,
It would
Ron?
enhance Omaha traffic.
That would, yeah, that would be nice.
But
I
it's
was out
just,
there just the other day looking at the thoughts of where they might put it, so
Yeah.
I think it'd be a good
That's
idea
it.
if we did both of them.
that's
You
what I
say
think.
what?
What if we did the ADA compliant and then fixed and made some repairs to the other dock?
Well, it's
We've
just
been
not
doing
good.
that at Thunderbird and at Sequoia, and it's made a substantial improvement. I don't know if you've been over there, but just last week, we did a lot of work at both of those marinas. So we might could do some additional work at the Omaha Marina and that dock.
Thunderbird, I was just Thunderbird
So-
today and I didn't see anything.
The one at the boat launch,
Yeah, we put all new
It's gonna stay
rubbers
the way
on
it is.
each one of the
Well,
slips.
if- unless we
Replace a
decide to
bunch of
change
wood
it.
at Sequoia.
Main marina.
he's want, the reason why, he wants the one to come out for the boat launch,
That
because
was at the Sequoia, right?
if you had traffic going
He's changed his mind.
We did
No, he
all kinds
said
of
he'd like
boats
that
out there.
boat,
Go
but-
look at it.
Well, I didn't walk
Which-
out on the dock. I just have to go along.
if you had a preference, which one would you?
Pardon?
If you had a preference, which one?
Do I have a preference?
Yeah. Do you have a preference to which one over the other first?
My own opinion, I'd like the accessible dock.
The one over there by the boat launch? Okay.
The one where you just
I
said
think more
the,
people would benefit from it. I don't know how many handicapped people we got that would come use a handicapped specialized dock. I know a few people would fish off of it, and it would be used that way, because you can fish off of it, but you can't
Can't tie
launch a
your
boat or
boat,
anything
can't.
off of it.
Okay.
but didn't you just say that if we go accessible, that if we have boat traffic, it's gonna be dangerous if somebody in a wheelchair is out there?
Oh. You get around the water, there's certain danger for everybody. I don't have real good balance, and when I walk out on a pier, I have to be real careful. And, because they move with the water. And so it would take away that fear of a wheelchair going on, the ADA dock would. But it would benefit ADA people, a few bank fishermen, dock fishermen. This would benefit, and there's nothing wrong with that. More boaters go over there, the other dock would benefit more people. But that's, my idea was to do both of them.
Do we have a schematic of that other?
Not with us today, you have it from last month.
Last month.
Another company,
That's what they handed out last month.
Okay.
that ramp at Sequoia is shallow. The nature of being shallow, it causes a lot of moss to grow on the concrete.
That's the original.
thank you.
then when the moss grows on the concrete, it gets very slick.
Yeah.
And even strong, helpful people out there trying to launch their boats, a lot of people can't do it like bass boaters do, back there, drive on and pull out. You have to get out and walk around, and I've talked to 2 or 3 of my fishing buddies that have fallen on that dock because it's just so slick.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a warning sign up, I think, last year I seen, that beware the dock is, the ramp is slick.
The concrete part's what you're talking about, of the dock ramp.
The ramp.
Yes,
itself
yes, the ramp itself.
Gets slick, yeah, the concrete ramp where you're.
I agree.
Out of your trailer. Gets real slick, and if you have to get out to manage your boat onto the trailer or off the trailer, you're on the risk of falling. The boater dock would give you an advantage to tie your boat up, go get your truck and dock it in. If you get back here, you can get close enough to the dock, you can step from the dock to the boat. or
And you
to the
can do
trailer.
that now with the dock that's there, it's just not in good condition.
Well, it's not really big enough either.
Okay.
It doesn't go far enough out. It goes about 8 or 10 feet
Yeah, you have to,
out, and that's it. And if you can tie one boat up to it, maybe 2 boats, a big dock like that, you could put 4 or 5 boats up there while people go up to get their trailers and back them into the water, and they can all tie up there and wait till it's turn.
Well, I know Joe's not here to speak about the bass fishermen, but that's probably the only time we've got 4 or 5 boats trying to come
Oh.
out of Lake Omaha at the same
Not just
time.
at our Tuesday night tournaments. I go out there on evenings getting ready for the Tuesday night tournament, and there'll be 4 or 5 boats on the water. So it's.
so has he just
during the
talked us out of this
summertime,
one?
it's 2 or 3 times a week that it's happening.
Well,
And I realize it's just for maybe it's for bass fishermen, but there's a lot of other fishermen that just go out there. And there's one buddy of mine, he never fishes a tournament, he slipped and fell on and hurt himself pretty bad, but he knew it was slick. And since then, I've taught him to launch his boat without getting up the ramp.
Well, I think, our conversation is about ADA compliant, so I mean, or ADA accessible or compliant, one of the
We've had 2 or
2.
3 people want ADA compliant, and we've had that many or more want just an ADA accessible.
Yeah, I'm just saying ADA period. That's really what it was all about, is just being
Yeah.
able to have accessibility
Well,
to
then you got
handicap.
to put Joe, Kaiser, and the rest of us thought it would be nicer to have a better dock there too.
Yeah,
It's a little convenient.
I'm not opposed, Mr.
Yeah,
Norman, at all.
We, right now, we're just beaching our boat against the bank,
Right.
and we don't like to beach fiberglass boats, but if
I wouldn't
it
either.
requires it, we do it.
so,
is it the same price for the first one?
Pardon?
That,
it was less.
Do you have your price
For the-
sheet for the first
for
drawing?
the first one?
But it was like 67, 96, he's offering
Pretty much.
Yeah,
a
we had
lot of free
budgeted
labor and us
10,000.
buying materials. I mean,
Would-
if we're gonna do it, it's the
would there
best
be a
way, most
possibility-
affordable way to do it.
would there be a
Just
possibility
what
if
we
both
do.
were done to have a discount?
Here's a,
Would it be possible if both were done to have a discount?
Well, I offered to submit my labor for free if I could put a placard on it for the dog shop, so.
So that would knock off some labor costs. And it's not-
We don't have any labor on
So there's no labor cost on it?
We're just, this is
Yeah.
just.
So that's on,
Okay.
that was on the initial bid for the courtesy dock that's ADA accessible.
Right.
The revised vision that I did for the ADA compliant, I didn't make the same offer in regards to the hand railing and the work, the craftsmanship it takes to get the compliance.
This is
factor
with his
for, say,
discount
really,
that he's talking about.
The rails, they have to be able to not let a sphere of 4 inches pass through it, so it's got to have picks and/or some sort of coverage around it, so a wheelchair or somebody in their leg can't get stuck in that particular railing system. So it takes a lot more work to build one with the ADA compliant than it does with the ADA accessible.
So how much do you think, just putting the other dock in, if it's not even ADA compliant or anything, there's no railings on it or anything, how much do you think you can knock off on that?
I submitted a bid to her, so she has the amount of what it would be without labor. On the original bid for the voters
Right,
to use.
just a straight dock out there.
So, Wayne,
That was the very first one that you gave us without anything ADA at all. I want to say it was, again, it was like $3,000. It wasn't very expensive.
no, And
It wasn't very expensive at all, but that had nothing to do with ADA. That was before ADA was ever spoken.
Right. That's what I'm trying to get to.
And you may not have a copy of that,
Yeah, you
because
may
it
not.
immediately went to the ADA.
So-
If we updated it, it had to have
That's
the
what, I don't know
ADA.
what question yours.
Yeah, we
You know what
do
the
not
question
have
is?
copies of that first one, so.
So,
I may still have that in the office.
and I know I don't, but Wayne, the original one for Omaha Courtesy Dock ADA accessible was for $4,201.90. And this one today, and that was for the existing dock.
That was with his offered discount on that.
Okay,
Right.
but that's for the existing, to do what you've been
Yes.
talking about for all the bass boats and,
Yeah.
okay,
ADA accessible.
accessible. Today, this $6,706.95 will be for the new construction that will be,
ADA
Compliant.
compliance attached to the.
so I know that we had budgeted $10,000 for the dock. These two together, both of these things is $11,416. Do we
I
have
don't
a?
believe we budgeted
I thought
$10,000
we
for the
did.
dock.
I thought we did.
No,
Okay.
at Thunderbird Marina.
At Thunderbird?
Yes, Thunderbird.
Okay, so we still need to do some thinking about this?
Well, I mean, I think that it's up to y'all to decide whether or not you want to spend the funds and add the dock there. We had property owner that came to us
Yeah.
about having no amenities, they were ADA compliant. That's how the ball got rolling.
That's how the ball got
it started months ago. So I think that at this point, we have the funds available. It's not in the budget, so you would have to approve it.
I don't want to take money out of the swimming pool budget.
Well,
There.
I would have to say, I'm with you, I think I'm leaning more towards the ADA accessible one. Because I think it not only answers that problem, but also helps out with another problem we have.
What's the other problem?
Well, with the boat traffic and things like that, helping that out as well. Unless I'm missing something about having just a compliant one. So, that's mine.
The ADA compliant, they will not be able to put boats out.
Correct.
No boats.
No boats.
Period, end. Okay? What I'm looking at is this other dock for them to pull their boats up to. It's next to the ramp.
Right.
This other dock's gonna be clear over on the other side of the marina.
It's over here in this other.
Yeah, it's over on the other side of the
Yeah.
marina. Because all our other lakes, except the small ones, have docks or guys, when they put their boats in, can tie up while they're moving their vehicles out. So, I'm looking at two docks basically, is what I'm looking at.
So I think we're at a place where we need to tell or suggest to Mr. Flowers, I hear you saying that you want the original drawing.
That would be my preference if we do one.
Okay, and I hear the public saying that they want the compliant one where they can,
That's what I haven't heard.
well, she hadn't been here for a long time.
Yeah, he's saying he's had help from both.
Okay, the first bid you gave us on the very first dock, do you remember how much that was roughly?
Yeah, it's
No, that one's got ADA on it.
That's not it.
I
Okay,
don't
so-
want an ADA dock there.
Correct.
That's it.
So here's what I say that we can move forward with. If you're going towards the direction of having an ADA compliant and then doing additional work to the existing dock to make it better for the fishermen,
Right.
then this is much less than the $4,000. I want to say it was $2,742 off the top of my head, but it was $3,000 or less. If you wanted to do that, it would be less to do ADA separate. We have no issues with anyone getting knocked off a dock in a wheelchair, and then beef up the other dock for our boaters. And we should be able to do that far less than $11,000.
Okay.
But no budget at this point in time
It's
for
not in
the
the budget.
Omaha Center, which says that we need to really consider that. Do we need to defer this one more month? Or is it time to press on with at least one dock and then bite the bullet on it?
Well, in another month, we're gonna be pretty warm and it's gonna start getting.
Yep.
That was a concern that I had when I was out there the other day, and it was 65 degrees.
Right.
A lot of traffic.
Nothing in your dock documents to show the original price? My office is closed, I can't even call anybody to try to look and see if you don't have something. I think it was $27.42.
And Tony, your idea
What?
was to have one that was not ADA at all for the one side, and then perhaps defer the action for the ADA compliant until we know that we have the funds, is what I heard you say.
This one is ADA accessible.
Accessible, but the other one would be
So,
just a dock, a strict dock that the folks who use Omaha could enjoy.
well, this,
And we still haven't addressed the issue of ADA, and
well, doesn't this one address the ADA problem?
this one
Just
does.
accessible though.
Right, but it's also benefits
The fishermen,
the fishermen as well.
because the boats can come up to
Right,
this.
so you're killing two birds with one stone, right?
No, that,
No?
yeah, with that one, where they put that, it's not really that accessible for ADA, because you got a ramp there, you got boats coming in and going. It's not a very good place to put an ADA. I've been down there and
All we
looked at
need
it.
is one
That's right.
incident to happen,
Yeah.
it would be a bad thing.
That's exactly what my thinking was, David, the first time we looked at it.
The dock that's there is the one that we put the extension on for boats. The other one is a complete separate dock for ADA.
Mr. Wayne, would we be able, you don't have it, would we be able to safely say, by looking at the bid, you've given us 67 for the ADA accessible, is that what it is?
Yes,
Yes.
compliant.
So that would be $3,300. Could we safely say that for $10,000 or less, you could extend the existing dock and beef it up to accommodate our boaters and do the ADA accessible?
Of course, we'll give you a placard.
Yeah, I could do both, like he wants to begin with, 6 foot wide.
I make a motion that we do
For
it.
the boaters, that would be literally, it would still have a ramp, so you could get a wheelchair on,
Yeah.
period. And it would be angled just like it is in the blueprint, so the boaters have the ability to put more than one boat in and out when they need to. And build the wood one, attach it to the marina permanently. I wouldn't have it hinging, it would be bolted right to the steel substructure of the marina itself, so it would kind of feel just like a marina dock. It wouldn't have a bunch of sway to it,
Right,
rails and all,
right.
yeah.
I mean, that would be a,
I make a motion, we build both docks for under $10,000.
$999.99.
Does that include the tax, sir?
Of course.
A motion's been made by Mr. Nebel to build both docks. One will be ADA compliant for the individuals who need to use those facilities. One will be just a boat dock
For
for launch
and recovering boats.
recovering boats. That's the motion. Is there a second? We're
Yeah,
spending
yes, I'll second it. Sorry, I was
second by Ms. Jett.
giving Tony a chance to talk.
He's researching whether or not $9.99 is a good deal. So when he comes back and says, wait a minute, any further discussion on the docks for the Omaha, docks now, talking about two, for the Omaha Lake only.
When can he make this happen?
And Wayne's going to give us free docks on everything else, right? No?
thank you, Wayne.
I had to throw that in, sir. I
I realize
apologize.
that you guys might or might not have to debate another month to do it, but I am swamped, so the date that you wanted, completion date, we probably have to, maybe you and I get together and
We
see.
can get
what-
together.
Just make
We
it,
just don't want them to have to wait
Sure.
another month
Sure.
to approve
Right.
it. So
So-
we'll get on your book quickly.
we're,
If it approves, I'll put it on.
Well, we have a motion. We need to make sure. Susan, you agree with the two docks?
Yeah.
Tony?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Motion carries. We'll build two docks for the Omaha Lake. One will really make Norm very happy, and one will allow him to use his wheelchair when he gets older. Thank you very much.
Fishing for life.
Thank you,
Good,
Wayne.
thank you.
Thank
One
you.
more thing before Wayne sits down, and David, this is something I asked him to discuss with you, which was the
Anchoring?
anchoring to the lake. Have y'all talked about that?
No, we haven't.
Okay, so he explained it to me, and I asked him if he would mind explaining it to everyone else.
Okay, he can get with me afterwards.
Oh, okay.
You
All
know
right,
what?
thank you.
It's not something we need to know now?
No.
Okay.
We're gonna go by the ordinance.
Yeah, okay.
Our last item on unfinished business is FOA training for the 5 commissioners. And
And me.
I have read all the documents that I can and feel fairly confident, but it wouldn't hurt to have some kind of true training for the FOA activities, meaning that if you ask for any documentation that we've made public or in private regarding a public item, you would be able to have that according to what I understand. But I need to understand that better, and I believe our attorneys would be the individuals who are doing that training.
Lucinda McDaniels also offered to do that training for free.
That's the best price I've heard all day.
Yep.
They are out
So-
of the country on vacation, but I would say that would be our first contact to try to do it with them.
That'd be wonderful. Could I have a motion then to recommend that we have FOA training for our commissioners?
Yes, I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Motion's been made by Ms. Jett that we have FOA training for commissioners, and so we'll tell Joe about that because Tony got to second it. Any other further discussion? David?
I say yay.
Tony?
I say,
Susan?
Yeah.
Motion carries. Let's move to new business. Moving prepaid assessments to a 12-month CD with a 3.5% interest is the new business that we've published. And that makes a lot of sense so that we actually gain something instead of monies just sitting without any kind of return. Now, that's my thought, and I'm an accountant. I won't let my sweetheart spend money. So, well, actually, she gives me money, but David,
Oh,
do we need a motion for
This would be for
that
FNBC. They
Yeah.
came and visited us.
Right.
And since we're going to pull 10% from the prepaid funds each year, that maturing 12-month CD would give us the opportunity to do that and keep it rolling.
how much do we have in prepaid?
About 240,000, I believe, 244 maybe. It won't be on your financial this time because that was our year-to-date for last
I
year.
got it. I'm okay with it.
You're good? Susan, you're good with that?
Yes, I'm fine with that, but I have a comment that someone popped off to me that if we do that, then we're making a profit, and I was so unsure of the language. All I could think of was, no, we're not making a profit, we're making the money so that we can pay the assessment.
Well, so I did go to the bank to ask to make sure that with us being a municipality that we could have, assets that were interest bearing. And because this is money that's going into our operating fund, we're actually losing the 6% interest that we gain off people who pay it annually. So they said that this was not illegal, that we could do this on this particular account with these prepaid funds because they go into an operating account and not into something different. We have other assets as well. We've got CDs and things like that. So I checked to make sure we could do it before I brought it up for y'all to look at it.
Thank you.
And it's the first time in a while anybody's making any money on CDs. So that was the other thing that sparked my interest.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Any additional discussion? I personally, as a chairman, don't get to vote, but I like this because it really does have the opportunity for the people who live in Cherokee Village to see where their money's going and to see what's happening. And it's something that will be published, I'm certain, and is available to individuals. So we are not We are not the good old boys or good old girls that have said, hey, let me see if I can hide this from you. Unfortunately, that would have been recently in Washington DC. No, I shouldn't say that.
I make a motion, we move our prepaid assessments into a 12-month CD with 3.5% interest.
That locks us in for 12 months, so beware.
We'll pull our 10% before we purchase it, giving us until this time next year before we'll be able to mature and do it again.
Okay.
Motion's been made by Mr. Nebel to move our prepaid assessments into a 12-month CD bearing 3.5% interest rate. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Mr. Nebel, a second by Ms. Jett, to move this prepaid assessment to a 12-month CD with a 3.5% interest rate. David?
Aye.
Tony?
Aye.
Sue?
Carried.
Motion passes. We have two additional items that were not on the new business activity. One is concerning the Omaha Center and the safety of the individuals who utilize the Omaha Center because of a recent COVID outbreak. I've had several people contact me who were not excited that the Omaha Center was closed, but we believed that, and I believe, Betsy, you contacted the first aid people, and David, did you also?
No.
No, the health department was closed today. I just went online and looked, and basically what it says is that if you test positive, you should have a 5-day quarantine. As I tried to explain this morning, I got a text from an employee that they had tested positive. They reported that there were 5 other individuals that played pickleball, some from the morning group, some from the afternoon group, that were also tested positive. And I called and spoke with Mr. Conley, the president of the health department, and we felt that possibly just closing the auditorium to the pickleballers would eliminate that activity through Friday, which would accommodate the 5-day quarantine time, and then on Saturday we would open it back up to the public. That's what I posted online, and gosh, the world has come to an end.
And I thought I had an unlisted phone number, but I know now it's not.
So reading the CDC guidelines, what I read is it's the individual that has to quarantine.
Right, right.
So why are we closing the gym down? We can't, I mean, if someone is
It's a
COVID related, well,
It's a
okay,
highly communicable.
I understand, but say we close it till Friday, we open up Saturday, another person with COVID comes in there, we can't stop people from COVID coming in, we don't know they have it.
Right.
That's supposed to be up to that individual person to say, I'm not going there. But if we can't stop people from doing it ever, I mean, that means we should just keep everything closed until COVID goes away again, and we've been down that road before.
But what I suggested talking to Betsy earlier is contact the health department and see if there's anything that we can do to, I call it fumigating, but
It's
making sure that the surroundings and everything are kept clean and everything.
It's about a 2-hour cleaning is what it is, disinfecting.
Well, that
And
depends
then
on the
that's-
size of the place, so.
Well, the size of that place, it's, I mean,
An hour.
what could be, I mean, it's, I know from the government, if you got a situation where you got guys that are in close contact with each other in a safety-related job, they close down one section, they clean it, takes about 2 or 3 hours, that little section, boom, they're back to work. There's no closing down the whole thing on a constant basis, because you don't know when the next guy is gonna have COVID or, I mean, we close it till Friday, somebody Saturday could come with COVID and we're all back to square one again.
But the 5 people, the 10 people that are quarantined, the people from AM and PM and the
Okay.
employee, they will be out of quarantine on Friday. So let's just, for the sake of keeping everybody safe,
Well,
let's leave it closed till.
But they don't have to come. I mean, they should know
What's
better
gonna
not to.
keep them from coming?
Well,
What's
they
gonna
did
keep
know
them from
better,
going to the
that's
store?
how-
They did know better, that's how.
Or they can't, and they walk through these hallways, they walk through the golf course, they walk through the Omaha Center lobby, they come to the SID office, and we were gonna, what's to keep them from doing any of that?
Here's what I have to say. This is just my personal opinion, and I have to sit in the desk of the general manager. I could ask everybody in this room, and everybody in this room is going to have a different opinion. We all feel differently about vaccinations and who gets them and who doesn't, and who's a booster and who's not, and who wears a mask and who doesn't. I'm in a position where I have a building that has a lot of elderly people in it, and my concern was to try and protect anybody from being able to catch it. Obviously, we have adults who come to the facility knowing that they have tested positive and don't have that regard for the people that they play with.
Okay, then
And
why
so
not shut down the whole center?
I just tried to make a decision
Why not shut down?
regardless of what I made. It
Don't
wasn't
tell me
going to
to stop.
please everybody, so I thought that I made the right decision, and it's up to y'all if y'all want to change that decision. But again, I tried to make a decision based upon what I felt was right for everybody, and I'm never going to be the popular girl, and I don't care.
Can I chime in, or do I have to wait?
Mike, please
Since I'm-
do,
okay.
please do, since you're the president of the Omaha Health and Fitness Club.
And I did speak with him.
Okay, I am the president of the fitness club, and I will always err on safety and security. My question, and you have a valid concern, why don't we close the whole club? How many of you in here contracted COVID? Any of you contracted COVID? Okay, hands down. How many of you went to the hospital for COVID? I did, and I'm healthy. And I was in a hospital for 24 hours. I was on oxygen for a week. The doctors looked at me and they said, well, why are you here? I said, I have no idea. I don't even know where I contracted it. But if you look at the age population of the people that use the facility, they might not have been as lucky as me. I am not going to ever say that when Betsy and I talked, if we knew 6 people wanted to, probably nothing. We would let it happen. 6, that's a big number. And I'm not going to be the one responsible. If somebody, an elderly person, contracts COVID and dies, that's going to be on you guys if you want to say, well, yeah, we'll make those decisions. What would you do if it was a TB outbreak? Would you say, oh, it's only 6 people? Tuberculosis. We did the smart thing. We closed down just part of the facility. You asked about why did we close down the workout room? We spray them. We clean them. You're supposed to wipe down the equipment. The guys that are into pickleball, what are they going to do? They're face-to-face contact. They're not using equipment. I'm using weight equipment. I'm cleaning it. So we did the smart thing. I know. I was on it. I was in the hospital. And again, I was one of the lucky ones. A 65, 70-year-old, 80-year-old who work out in that facility, they might not be as lucky. But if you're gonna try to put parameters on leaving everything open or dictating, then do it to every facility in Cherokee Village, not just Omaha Center, everyone.
That was my question.
Then you do it to every facility.
That's why I'm
But
questioning.
put the policy out then, because I can tell you, as the president, if myself and the GM can get together and make a decision, we'll do that. But if you want to dictate all the policy on every facility, put it in writing, and you're the one that's going to be held responsible. I got no problem with that.
No, if we put it in writing that if you're COVID positive and you come somewhere and infect other people, that place isn't responsible. You are. That individual is.
But
Not
the people show up. It doesn't matter.
Not Omaha Center's not responsible.
The people show up. Come on, this is a legit.
I know what you're saying. I understand what you're saying.
Don't sue, it doesn't matter.
I understand what you're saying, but if it's that person who's responsible. That's the only one. He knows he's positive. He doesn't need to be coming.
But how do they know they're positive? They might not know. Anybody can be a carrier. But answer my question, what about tuberculosis?
Well, that's the difference.
No, it's communicable just like COVID.
Okay, well, I mean, yeah.
Okay. Enough, we've had discussion, and it's like I told Betsy, call the health department tomorrow and get it resolved through them what we need to do legally. That's what my statement is on this.
They probably won't do anything because Arkansas has wiped it. It's going to be up to us to make a conscious decision.
And it would be my statement that if we have already made a decision for the safety of all the old people, and I'm beginning to be one of those old people, then 5 days, the 4 days now, give it a rest.
And it's just pickleball.
It's-
Go outside and play.
No, well, I don't want to say it's just pickleball, because those people are passionate too.
No, I know.
But leave it closed till Friday, Saturday morning, pickleballers can come in and play pickleball.
And then, well, there's, some of those same people are in the dance club. They'll be at the dance club Tuesday.
Please,
Are we taking conversation now, or are you waiting for the...
I'm going to go ahead and do that just because this is kind of sensitive, and it seems like the smart thing to let people kind of just vent because of the issues that we just described over closing the pickleball area at the Omaha Center.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, it's way out of what we normally do.
I'm turning the timer on. Okay, go.
Hi, Scott Winters, 55 Monongahela. First of all, I appreciate the enthusiasm and the excitement, but let's keep to science. Remember what CDC did, now they've retracted. It's not transferable by surfaces. So we know that doesn't do any good. We also know that people like myself use the pickleball, use the gym, dance, so if I think our liability, based on my corporate legal situation is once you start trying to control something that you can't control, then you have a loophole of liability. Because now you're discriminating based on age or activity, and you've opened up a Pandora's box. If you leave it as our federal government tried to do, and city governments try to do, you can't control something like COVID. Other diseases and so forth, flu or whatever, same situation. Are there things prudent that should be done? Probably. But to try and enforce this at a city level just doesn't seem to make sense. Again, appreciate but fear is not how we operate anymore. It's science. And please keep that in mind, respective of your positions. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
Penny Trophy. First of all, I play pickleball, but I have not played for almost 3 months due to health issues. Second of all, I've had COVID twice. Have no idea how I contracted it because I just did. In learning that and going through that, if I have COVID and I cough into my hands, wipe my face and everything, and then walk up to your door and open your door, I have just transferred anything that I just spit into my hands onto that door, onto that pen that I sign in with, onto any equipment that you use. So pickleball, yes. The equipment is sterilized in the balls, but still that you use. But there's no way to constantly control it. If you're telling pickleballers they can't play, but yet I can go in and work the gym, I've still got COVID, but I can be sneezing all over and coughing and hacking and doing whatever I need to do to get through my cold, because that's all I have is a cold. And that's what I have heard several of the pickleball players talk about through our groups that we talk about playing. I just thought I had a cold until somebody else said something, so I decided to get tested. So they didn't know they had it. What I'm saying is that you can't just close down the gym and leave the rest of it open, because everybody there is in the same place, uses all the whole building. I go in and I use the equipment before I go play pickleball when I'm able. So that's just something to think about. It doesn't matter unless you're going to clean everything from the door in. You're not going to stop it.
Thank you, Penny. Appreciate your comments.
If you have a Walmart in the area, you can see how they control it. There is no control. It's got to be a personal thing. And people just have to be educated with the fact.
Thank you, Mr. Marvin.
I think the idea would be to border on safety first, and I believe that Ms. Waugh and Mr. Conley have made the correct decision personally for the pickleball area, and it may need to be expanded to the entire Omaha Center just to be safe. That's something that I've already had a number of people contact me. How come I can use the bathrooms, the gym, the lobby and not the pickleball area, and I frankly said, oh poo, I don't know. So that may be the next step for our general manager to say, with conjunction with you, Mike, because of the activities, I know you've been through it. My beautiful bride was so kind, and she let me be her step and fetch guy, and then she gave me COVID. And I thanked her for it, and was so sick. So the question becomes, do we close the entire Omaha Center because of the COVID numbers of people, or do we just open it up to the whole world?
I have a comment.
Yes, sir.
Norman Flowers, posted on the door, big letters, let the person make a choice to come in or not. That's just my suggestion.
And once again, I'm back to having Betsy, because they weren't open today, contact the health department and they will tell us what we need to do. That's my stance on this thing, you know, that's the science. Let the health department decide what we need to do.
You are?
My name's Ramona Winters, and I agree with this gentleman that said, post it, put a sign on the door, let every individual choose for themselves. As far as the Omaha Center, we each sign an individual waiver of liability. We are grown adults, we can make our own decisions, and it is kind of risky to start making decisions for people in general when the science doesn't prove things. And so I think we're all adults. If we're scared of catching COVID, then don't go to the center yourself. Don't go to the Omaha Center.
What about the employees that have to go there?
The employees can ask for time off. If they close the center down, they will be sent home.
No, they won't.
They're still control it that way.
No, we're
I
not
don't
going
think
to
that's
shut
how
down
it
the
works.
office too. We're not using the facilities.
I'm not talking to sit
Well,
office. I'm
listen,
talking about-
Part of the facility.
One person at a time, please.
Betsy?
Question, is there a policy for COVID for the employees? Is there a,
There's not a written
Exposure.
policy for COVID any longer. I believe there might have been a policy when COVID was rampant, and I know that some of the employees had some time off when they had COVID that they were paid for. Right now, if someone has COVID and they have PTO time, then they would be required to use their PTO time for their quarantine time off. There's no written policy any longer about COVID. And if you're asking me to err on the side of caution, then I would agree. We close the fitness center and the pickleball. And if we want it to be clean, then it needs to be cleaned professionally. It wouldn't be that I would ask one of my employees to go in and do any type of cleaning. If that's what the suggestion was, that it needed to be clean, then it would need to be cleaned professionally. And however long it would take me to do that, the center would be closed. It still would not close the office.
In 2020 lease agreement that we had, there was a COVID guideline. It said the lessor shall have facility open and available for use as much as possible with regard to Arkansas Department of Health guidelines concerning COVID-19. The district will take into account the health concern of each health club members as well as the staff employed by the district. So that was in the lease agreement the last one in 2020, but with COVID kind of getting off the radar in Arkansas, we did not put that in the lease agreement for this year. So that was not, but there was a COVID guideline during the
Stipulation.
COVID time.
okay, working for the federal government, as I said, we had the same guidelines.
Sure.
And then COVID kind of got lessened, lesser, and then we had new guidelines. And I know the last one that we have is with a COVID exposure, those of us that were vaccinated and boosted missed no work time at all. They didn't send us home, they didn't say anything. Those of us who had been vaccinated had to go home for like a day or two to see if there was any symptoms. No symptoms, they could come back. Those who had no vaccination went home for 3 or 4 days to see if there was any symptoms. If no symptoms, they were allowed to come back. Those who contracted it stayed out for a week, and they had to come back with a negative result. That's what the federal government is doing right now with, and I'm talking about safety-related position jobs. And I know us older guys, I know that most of them are younger guys, but it also affected us older guys that are 60 and above who have diabetes, cardiovascular problems as well, and heart, and those kind of issues. All of us instructors up there, we have those problems, and those were the same guidelines they used for us. So.
But can I say that those are guidelines for paid federal employees?
Okay,
We're
so
talking
you're talking about
about
employees.
property owners who, some go to the doctor, some don't, some believe in
Okay.
vaccinations, some
And
don't.
if you post a sign, it says, COVID has been contracted by some numerous people, your decision whether or not you want to come and play or not, that relieves you of any liabilities of anything. If people choose, oh, well, I'm not going to come up here because there's some people, let's give it some time, and then they'll come back later.
I'm just
I mean,
saying,
that's my personal
you can't look at apples to apples with that, Tony,
I'm
because you're talking
I'm
about.
talking about the
someone's
employee. They were asked about the employee, he asked about the employees. So I'm just discussing.
That was one of the.
Yeah, the man behind you, he asked about what about the employees? So that's what, as far as the guidelines for employees, that'd be kind of a starting point to give to them. And I think it was paid sick leave is what they gave them that had to come off. But as far as the closing of the center, I mean, that's, like I said, that's a different issue. Go ahead.
Anita Holiday.
Who?
Anita Holiday.
And my question is, you have employees going.
Get closer to the microphone,
The
please.
mic's off.
Oh,
It's flashing red.
Check and see what's up. There you go.
Oh, it's flashing red.
You have employees working there, and you have the COVID tests and all that kind of stuff. Why wouldn't that apply to the people coming in to play pickleball and the exercises stuff, if you're not going to close the employees from working there?
I don't understand your question.
My question is, why would you take and say to the public, you cannot come in to Omaha Center when the people who are paid for the office can? Okay, and if they go by the guidelines that were stated by.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what you're saying is, why can the employees go in if we close it to the public?
No, I'm saying, why don't the same guidelines for the public apply
To the employees.
to the workforce?
to the fourth quarter?
Well, the workforce, the employees are not using the facilities. We have a separate office, a separate entrance, a separate lunch facility, and in some cases, in this case, we could have a separate bathroom that we would use. So we're not out into the facilities where it has been contaminated.
You're in the same building,
But
and they said the contamination goes through the filtration of the.
That wouldn't affect the office.
They have
Separate everything.
They have separate air systems for
Yeah, air
different parts of the
conditioning
building.
system, everything is separate.
But didn't the guy that we suspect was the one that infected people come to the office?
No, he was in the
So-
pickleball room today when I went in to close the door and turn the light
So
on.
somebody in the office got COVID though, correct?
That was
The
the
attendant.
person who works in the hallway, who is
Oh,
the attendant, not
got
an
it.
employee.
But he got in the
Yeah.
hallway.
At the front door.
She plays
Yeah, front door. I
pickleball.
know, that's what I'm saying.
She
I got
plays
you.
pickleball, she's not just an
I'm just
employee.
clarifying it, that's all.
That's why this is such a wonderful
I
opportunity
swear.
to answer the phone and look at who it is. And I have more new friends now that have said P.E.G is a four-letter word. So with that, I think the best solution is truthfully to ask Ms. Waugh to contact the health department in the morning, confer with Mr. Conley, and then if necessary, shut the system down till Friday, or post a sign that says, enter at your own risk. If you choose to play pickleball or utilize the facilities because COVID has been contracted in this environment.
Oh, you're flashing now.
I can hear him though.
Sounds like it's on.
It sounds like it's on. It's on.
It turned green?
Still talk to it. No, it's not.
I am
No, it's
not.
not.
Why
Back
don't
to
we
what you
let
had.
Tony's microphone go to her so she can get a good one to talk, and I'll start swapping out batteries.
I probably don't need a microphone. Diana Dunlap.
What is your name?
The only thing that's boggling my mind is I play pickleball, I use the facilities. And so using those facilities, I'm not understanding how I'm not allowed to play pickleball, but allowed to use the equipment when I would be more concerned about all of the stuff that, I bring my own paddle, most of us do. We don't share equipment except for balls that are sanitized. So my feeling is that, I don't want to be discriminated. I can go in there, not do one activity, but I can do the other activities when I'm breathing the same air. So it just seems to me it's either an all or a nothing, one way or the other. And I can understand and accept whatever decision is made, but I don't see how I can use equipment and not use airspace. Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Knowing that there have been some COVID cases from the pickleballers and stuff like that, would that stop you from going tomorrow and playing pickleball if it were open?
Well, today I play pickleball outdoors.
Oh, yeah, but I mean
So,
today.
and I
Would you
err
go-
on the side of caution.
Okay.
I would feel safer being in there playing pickleball than knowing that there was COVID than I would being in there in the gym and working out of the equipment. And that's the only point I want to make. I can accept either decision you make.
Thank you. Mike, go ahead, please.
Okay, as the president, if Betsy calls tomorrow and the health department says no problem, then we'll open it back up. But you just said that you would caution yourself by going in there. And then my other question would be, why do 6 pickleball players have COVID and not hear anybody in the weight room? In the weight room, I spray the equipment off. And then you say, well, the balls are sanitized. Why do 6 pickleball players have COVID? And then, why did they come to the facility if they shouldn't? So see, everybody's like, they did.
Some of them went to the Valentine dance at a church.
But we don't know, that's right, you can get in anywhere. So if Betsy calls tomorrow, we'll put the sign on, it'll say, if the health department says it's at your own risk, whatever, we'll put the sign up there, COVID is in the facility, we'll open it back up. I'm telling you right now, that's what we'll do. But when anybody else pops positive, I don't care.
I understand, but there are a lot of people, some of the people who are out with COVID also use the equipment. So it's not like only pickleball people.
We're here in this meeting room.
Yeah.
You're right. So tomorrow call, if they say nothing, we'll open it back up, we'll post
Thank
the
you,
sign.
Ron. Please.
We'll talk about it.
Let's regain control of whatever I had of this meeting, because we really have beat this horse severely. And I think it's important to do that and open it up to the wonderful folks who are in this room. However, I think the smart move is still exactly what we do, which is contact the health department and see what they recommend. And if people who have COVID come in, I'm sorry. I've played a lot of golf. I've been in the Omaha Center. I like the equipment that we had last year, and I never had COVID, just like you said, Mike. Yes, sir. Pardon?
Stay home.
I'm leaving right
What
now.
I'd like to say is we end this conversation as
Yeah.
tomorrow morning, the Omaha Center will be closed until I speak to the health department. And that would be fitness center and the pickleball. The office
Right.
will be open, the fitness center and the pickleball will be closed tomorrow. Here's what my next statement is that if it says err at your own risk, then I believe we should leave both facilities closed until Friday. And hire a company to clean it.
Will Thunderbird be closed tomorrow for dance? We kind of need to know that right away.
There's crossover between pickleball and dance as well.
We understand that, and we can shut the dancers down too, if that's what we need to do. If that's what we need to do. This has gotten so ridiculous, out of somebody trying to make a decision for the best of everyone. Again, every person in this room has a different opinion. Have some respect.
You're not our babysitter either.
I didn't want to be your
Betsy,
babysitter, I don't get paid for that.
Betsy, let's just stop.
Stop. We have gone through this, we've had civil discussion, it's cut and dried. We're gonna wait till tomorrow till she contacts the health department. That's it. Period, the end. No more discussion.
To err on the side of safety, that's what we're gonna do. And if the Thunderbird Center needs to be closed, Mr. Winters, then we will have to let you know that it's gonna be closed, because if the people who are coming there have COVID, that puts everyone at risk.
I agree.
Okay,
Okay, let's move on.
let's move, let's close this one out, and thank you so much, Betsy, for your
I'll
work
everybody
tomorrow.
tomorrow as soon as I know some.
And then I anticipate my phone ringing off again tomorrow, right, wrong, or indifferent.
There's 3 other items that
we
are
have-
involved in that too, let me tell you.
Let me have just a minute here to collect my thoughts. I believe there's an individual from ALC here who would like to address the group. Jonathan, please address the group. Thank you, Mr. Martin.
I'm not sure that I want to follow that, but I'm Jonathan Rhodes, American Land Company property owner here. I submitted this morning to Betsy in the SID office an offer, which I think you have before you, for a bulk purchase of 1,000 lots. We have been contacted over the last weeks and months from individuals who are interested in purchasing some lots. And we have, I think, an opportunity to sell 1,000 lots over the next months. And so that's what's behind that offer. We put it as a one-page, pretty simple. And the offer is before you, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
How does this pertain to the lawsuit that?
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
At all?
No, this is complete.
When the settlement happened in June 30th, the contract that we had when working with SID for 20 years, July 1, it ended. So there's no obligation for American Land Company to the SID effective July 1, no obligation to SID to American Land Company back vice versa. So that, the contract in the past has nothing to do with this. We know that you've got approximately 7,000 lots, and we know that there's probably been 10 or so sales in the last 8 months. We have been contacted, as I said, in the past weeks and months, people interested, and so we can move 1,000 of those lots, and if you're interested in that offer, we can do that.
Is this also take care of the back taxes?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So as the offer states, I mean, the proposal is all the expenses, the closing costs, any back taxes, recording fees, revenue stamps, all of that will be paid by us. You essentially will give you a list of 1,000 lots. All of the lots would be under the $2,500 or under appraised valuation by the county. So we won't have anything on the list that's above the $2,500 appraised value. There'll be lots in Sharp and Fulton County. And it's lots that have been foreclosed by SID in your inventory, and that's pretty much it.
Will you have a list of these lots?
We will, if you're willing to entertain the offer, we will submit a list of 1,000 lots as an exhibit, which are the lots that we would be interested in purchasing. Yeah.
I think this sounds like a good idea because 1,000 lots for this much money and him paying all the costs, all the taxes, would be more than we'd collect if we sold them individually, I think. Just doing a quick arithmetic.
Betsy, have you looked at this pretty close? Because I really would prefer to examine it in nauseam with you, Jonathan.
And I realized that I brought this late. Basically, some things transpired over the weekend, which meant that I called Betsy this morning and put that together, knowing that there was not a policy in place for a bulk purchase. And so realizing that that would need to come to you. I do think it's important that you, regardless, me or American Land Company, that you be in a position to entertain bulk sales, because with the amount of inventory you have, it's near impossible for you to sell those lots 1 and 2 at a time and keep pace. There'll have to be some kind of bulk sales. And so I know it's not something you've considered before, and so this offer is your opportunity to consider that. For me, there is a timeline issue because I can't wait indefinitely for an answer, just because we have clients and customers that we'll have to get back to fairly quickly. And so, but I realize that you might have some questions and want to visit more about it.
We probably need to run this through the lawyers too, don't we? Bulk sales like this.
Yeah, I know that we've talked about bulk sales in the past. We never put any price tags on them.
Right.
There wasn't any opposition to us doing them that way. I mean, for me, I don't see that I'll be able to sell 1,000 lots all year long. But that's, I think, like he said, we've got to make a decision on what we're going to sell bulk lots for. And then that be the policy, kind of like we did our outline with the other ones. And 1,000 lots is a big number.
I think, I can just tell you based on our experience, that I think you may have some people that may come forward and they may want 5 lots or 10 lots or 20 lots. I think that's very realistic. And I think you should put yourself in a position to do that, because I think it'll allow you to move lots faster than 1 and 2s. I think that's something we've seen before, someone who might want 10 lots or 20 lots. I think it's a little bit rare that someone wants 100 lots or 200 lots. It's very rare that someone's going to come forward and want 1,000 because of the holding cost associated with it. But I think those smaller amounts is something that I would advise you to think about how you can incentivize folks to be able to purchase 10 or 20 or 50 at a time.
How soon could you have a list of lots for us?
We can have that list this week.
Okay.
You have an expiration date of Wednesday, the 22nd at 5 p.m. Is that realistic?
Is it realistic?
For us.
Well, what time do you think you would need to be able to make a decision?
Well, Mr. Nebel has requested a listing of the lots that you're interested in. You said you could have that by sometime this week?
We can have that to you within, I would say, Wednesday morning at the latest, Wednesday by noon at the latest.
Once we have the list and everything, we go over it and Betsy talks with the lawyers and everything, then we're going to have another special meeting to vote on this and everything. So we're probably looking, what? You're going to be on vacation for a couple
Come
of
back
weeks.
Monday the 6th.
You're back Monday the 6th? That's probably the time frame we'd be looking at.
The 6th? Okay, so, but we could do between now and the 6th, we could do the due diligence, or we can get you the list. You can have conversations with your attorney so that you think by the 6th, we could have a decision one way or the other.
We would have our meeting on the 6th. Sound good?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And let me just say lastly on that, and I think you know just from reading it, is so the idea would be those 1,000 lots the taxes would become current and those would go back on the books for assessments to be collected in 2024. So.
And an average of probably $90 for each one of those for
Right.
1,000, that's a big number. That's a big number.
Well, that's what I was going to ask next, because I read through the documentation that was published in the newspaper, and it's significant. And some of them are a lot more than $90 for taxes. So that's why we were concerned about the actual list, because that impacts that, unless you agree to pay, I mean, it says you pay every bit of those back taxes.
Oh, yeah, I mean, last year, when we sold near 5,000 lots, and we paid probably close to $1 million in back taxes. So, we have paid significant back taxes on these lots, significant. And on those back taxes are gonna vary, depending on how many years, but all of those will have to be paid before we could deliver a deed to anyone. But we've always done that. And so that would be money that would be going back to the state and to the county. That's on our responsibility. We would do that. And then going forward, you get 1,000 lots off your books and hopefully back on the assessments rolls for 2024.
I can say from experience, the average of what we're paying when we redeem lots that we're selling is about $220 a lot. So you add that to, it's a lot.
That's why I asked the question, because it's pretty significant.
Yes, I know there's a perception that there's a lot of money made, but there's not a lot of money made on lot sales here. And there's a lot of expense incurred with it, and so, but all of those would be paid up back taxes.
Now, each lot that you're talking about, though, when you sell those lots, have the ability to build on them?
And they're all fourth of an acre lots, and every lot in the village is approximately a fourth of an acre.
Right.
I think Cooper Communities said all 25,000 lots are buildable. The question is, how much is it going to cost to build on the lot, depending on where the lot is. So there are plenty of examples in the village of lots that you'd never think someone would build on that hasn't been built on. But so they're all buildable lots in platted subdivisions that have roads, and we would look at 1,000 lots both in Sharp and Fulton County.
The reason why I requested that is I know that there were individuals who were looking for multiple lots, and they were real concerned about the cost per lot that we could offer at that time. And then they didn't intend to build them because they were landlocked lots.
I don't know that there's any landlocked lots in Cherokee Village. Now,
Oh yeah, there are.
well, I know probably more about lots than anybody alive.
I'm thinking around the airport, I know those are landlocked.
Well, those are not lots. Those are not residential lots. So
That's a different animal.
yeah,
Residential?
we're talking about platted residential lots. That's all that you have in terms of what was in foreclosure. So you might be talking about commercial park lots, which is a totally different item.
Okay, Jonathan, hopefully we'll have an answer.
The thought then
Yeah.
is we're going to defer so we can do a little more research, Jonathan. And then when we have the opportunity to meet on the 6th, could very well be in the morning,
It's not a problem.
so we could get back with you on an answer, yes or no.
And I'll send that list to Betsy as soon as we have it in the next 24, 48 hours.
And we'll do what we need to do on our end to make them.
Okay.
Want to set a time on the 6th now?
Yeah. Set it.
First day back from vacation, be kind.
Come on, 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock?
1 o'clock sounds
says-
like
what'd Tony
a
say?
try.
won't be there.
Perfect.
Tony won't be at the
Tony
meeting.
can't make the 6th.
Can't do the 6th at all?
I'll be out there. That's okay. I'm not the only one.
You can review it before with 6 and tell us what you want?
Okay.
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 1 o'clock?
1 o'clock?
And it may very well be that the meeting could be held via phone. That would make it very easy for Betsy to contact us and let us know what David, Susan, Tony, Joe, and I think. And I'm going to come see you, though.
That's fine. Any of you are welcome to come anytime, give me a call. I'll answer questions and provide.
Are you gonna be able to match that list of lots up with that map that you've got in your office that's color coded?
Yeah.
Say no.
Awesome.
Say no.
Say no, no.
But thank you for the opportunity to bring it to you
Okay.
today. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Jonathan. That completes our new business.
Now it's you.
Now,
Thanks
I'm
for
going to
talking
turn the
fast.
meeting over to Miss Watt, who said she's going to talk real fast. Betsy, do you need a...
Oh,
What?
hand me a,
Oh.
I'll grab this one.
Here, oh,
Animal control, everything has been finalized, check has been deposited, and we are done with that portion of animal control for the city to own that property now, and they're responsible for everything moving forward. I wanted to report that we had received and deposited our check from Papoose Park from RDOT. $148,207.50. That included some trees, some trees, some garbage can enclosures, a few signs, but it also included a parcel of the land that they'll clip right there at the edge where the handicap parking is and make that corner. So that's been approved. We've received all our funds from RDOT. They claim August will begin construction, but they say that can always change up to 2 years. Furniture in the Omaha Center, the lobby has been completed. I've gotten great reviews. Everyone seems to enjoy it. It's clean, it's nice out there, and we've got a little bigger crowd that's kind of gathering out there and visiting now, which has been really good. Our card players have also returned to the Omaha Center from the Thunderbird Center. I know it was a big nudge, but when the heat went out at the Thunderbird Center and it was 55 degrees in there, they were quickly ready to come take a look at Omaha, and they were really pleased with the parking out there and the facility to use the library. So I think that just brings another group of people and more activities. The pool update. I know we talked about a Thunderbird Center pool at our last meeting. We approved to move forward with the deck repairs and the resurfacing of the pool. We quoted a price of $335,000. I should have taken into consideration then that there would have to be a contingency with some additional funds available, because as we start to pull the fence out of the concrete, the bottom of all the posts are rotted. We've got a drainage issue where water's overflowing over the wall and going into the pool and to the deck. We cannot do an overlay and get the warranty that we need for the 25 years. It's going to cost $14,000 to bust up and haul out all of the concrete. Then they can go back in with the original bid and relay new cement. But it is going to be a world of difference. When we looked at doing an overlay, we didn't take into consideration that added 4 inches to the first step getting into the pool. It added 4-inch cap on top of the skimmers. It brought the drains up 4 inches. Once we started looking at having to make all those changes, it just didn't make sense to not bust it out and go back and do it right. So as of probably tomorrow, the deck is gone. The pool company will be coming in, starting to put up their forms. I mean, progress is happening, and we just need to be able to have that little contingency to cover those items that are going to come up as we start tearing stuff out that's 50 and 60 years old.
Start right at the bottom.
Do what?
You start at the bottom.
That's a huge improvement and be very, very well done once they get it done. When you read through that contract, it is pretty awesome.
I think that, I mean, anytime you do innovations or anything like that, you
have a 10%?
You always had
No,
10%.
I
just-
think we need more, because I was a contracting officer representative for 10 years, and I think we need to be in the 15 to 20% range on the contingency fund.
Well,
Because
you
you
know,
start getting them cost overruns, and they just chunk, chunk, keep going up.
and the only thing I'd be able to fall back on is I did budget 10,000 for land repair or equipment repair. So if I had to go into that, I could. That is a budgeted amount. Maybe that would, cover some of the stuff. But the first skimmer that we pulled out was all cracked across the bottom. I need 8 of those, $300 a piece.
Well-
I mean, there just makes no sense to halfway do it.
If we start with the 10%, in case we need it, if it goes over that, can we
We can
Yeah, we can
readdress
meet
it.
again and change?
Okay.
We can readdress it
I
as
mean, I just
needed.
think.
But I'm just saying realistic.
Yeah.
I agree.
Doing construction 2 years, you're gonna
So-
need 15 to 20%.
All of you all, please get your checkbooks out, please.
Okay, so do we need to approve that, or can we just
No.
make a motion,
No.
or just plan on it?
Plan on it.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I just want to be transparent and everybody be able to know.
Thank you, Betsy.
That's all I had on my list.
At this point, we have the opportunity for property owners to address us as well. Please speak your name, your location, property owner, status.
Richard Sackett. I live at 21 Tishman. I didn't want to jump ahead, but because ALC put the request in, I've been attempting to talk to Betsy about a marketing plan, which I think you all should decide on what your marketing plan is quickly, or think about that as you do the ALC. So I'm suggesting you might want to look at that. And somewhat connected to all this is my continued thing that my concern is, as I stated before, is we haven't got a report back of how you're going to do the lot sales and how you're going to do that. I know there isn't much, but just the plan, how you're going to do that, which impacts me as an individual and several people connected to me. And then I'm highly concerned about the reconciliation of lot claims, because as I understand it at this point, the lawyers validated the list, gave the list to her, and then she revalidated it. And at this point, we're not quite done, but little or none of 50 lots are on that list that was on my list that the lawyer said was good. So I'm concerned about that reconciliation. And then I might add, I wasn't in the lot business as deep as ALC, but all lots are not created equal, even doing the 2,500 assessment. And so I want you to think about that while you're going through your decision also, because I sold a lot of lots too. And I was to the point of grading them, whether they went that way, or that way. And there's a great deal of difference in the value of those. If you're going to put a marketing plan together, and if you really want to maximize your sales, first you have to have gold that you really want to do that. And if you do, then you might care.
Thank you, Mr. Sackett. Any other property owners would like to address the commission? Well, I have one thing, just for throwing it out there. I know that we're going to go dark here on April 6th, 2024 with the eclipse. And there are a number of people who have approached me that would like to have people come and stay and utilize our facility. I mean, they want to come here, and we have no clue how many people that might be. When I checked with the folks at Little Rock, they have no clue how many people are going to want to see this 4.5 minutes or 4 minutes 27 seconds of the eclipse on April the 6th. So if anyone would like to come and help me work through something, we already know the airport has contingency of planes that want to come in. We know that Highland had expressed something to do with the eclipse. I don't know about Hardy, and I'm not sure about Ash Flat. So there's some things that we need to really address, as well as with Cherokee Village, the new mayor, who's trying to get his feet on the ground. We didn't darken his door with that yet, but I'm sure that they're going to want to be able to be a healthy part of that. So I'm going to take that on a little bit, just because I know there are people who have ideas, and I would be more than honored to work with them.
There will be. Judging from the air traffic that happened the last time, which I was working, it was more traffic than we've ever seen before.
We're gonna check, the airport's checking into getting a portable tower.
The VFR, even those that weren't even talking to air traffic, there were so many planes out there, even air traffic couldn't keep up with even helping the guys that were on their own. It was so bad.
Kansas City support.
Yeah.
Well, just to say, Jonathan Rhodes, and I chair the Advertising and Promotion Commission for Cherokee Village. Just to let you know, the A&P Commission has had this on our agenda for over a year. It's always on our agenda because it's been something that we've been talking about for some time. Several of us will be going to the Arkansas Governor's Conference on Tourism this next weekend in El Dorado. It will be a major topic there. It was a major topic last year. The state has been trying to prepare communities for it. We're already talking to our counterparts at the Hardy A&P Commission, at the Mammoth Spring A&P Commission with the state, with our Regional Tourism Association as our Gateway Tourism Association. So I know the city is interested in talking. I think absolutely SID needs to be a part of that conversation given your land and assets. And we anticipate quite a few people here, and we need to think about a coordinated effort from a health and safety perspective, but also just to maximize the tourism economic benefit potential to this community and to our region. We've already purchased glasses. The A&P Commission has, just as a kind of forward thinking. So we will be putting a working group together, and we'll gladly include SID in that discussion.
I'll do that with you, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Kind of speaking on that, I have gotten my quote back from Cushman's to add the additional 7 RV pedestals. It's about a 10-week out on delivery for the pedestals. Last year we purchased those ourselves, which are $261 a piece. They're not super expensive. But to add the additional 7 RV pedestals, we are going to have to add a 400 amp service.
That service, yeah.
Yeah, that quote is $34,000 to upgrade the service and do all 7 new 50-30-20s. I also spoke to the concrete person that was giving us some quotes over at the pool, hoping I could get a concrete pad for $1,000 a piece, but I can't. I can't. I can get some rock, but I can't get a pad. So if you don't mind, I'll put this on our March 6th special meeting, and then we can go in and get these pedestals ordered if y'all agree, and get those going.
I got one quick, what about Gitchagumi Beach, the parking lot over there? What are we gonna do
I
about
took
that?
some more pictures and sent to a different asphalt person over there and just asked them if they can just go in and bust out where it starts down and replace that part and then do an overlay over both. I'll see what they come back at. I think it ought to be in about the $45,000 to $50,000 range.
If not, fill in the holes and do a chip and seal on it if we have to.
Okay, we can pack it. Okay.
I'm now turning into another commissioner named Joe Kaiser. So if I don't look quite like him, let me get my glasses. Joe and I talked the other day, and he was very appreciative of all the people who have volunteered to help put out the Christmas trees in the lakes to help the fish spawn better. However, he did request from the commission if we could buy maybe as many as 35 or 40 more blocks, cement blocks, to complete that job. And Norm's agreed to pay for all the, no. I'm sorry, Norm, I shouldn't pick on you. That is the only thing that Mr. Kaiser would have brought to the table today. So for that, I don't have anything else.
We purchased 50 already out of the budget money for the lake safety. They're over at Base Hart when he's ready to do his next draw.
Oh, he'll be so excited to hear that, because he was the supervisor and everybody else did the work. With that, do we need an executive session? Is there a motion to have an executive session?
I have no.
I don't think we need an executive session. I want to thank you, Betsy, Susan, Tony, Joe.
I make a motion to adjourn.
There's a motion on the table
Second.
to adjourn by Mr. Nebel, and Mr. Tony Stallsmith made his best second of the day.
Thank you, everybody, for coming.